Guys, Trump is not the only powerful man implicated in today's Epstein file drop. There's also a very troubling allegation against billionaire Bill Gates. And what's crazy is it comes straight from Epstein himself, who said that Bill Gates got STDs from Russian escorts and then asked Epstein for help getting antibiotics he could secretly slip to his wife Melinda without her knowing. So this is an email Epstein sent in the middle of his fallout with Bill Gates. He said, "To add insult to the injury, you then implore me to please delete the emails regarding your STD, your request that I provide you antibiotics that you can surreptitiously give to Melinda, and the description of your penis." And then in a follow-up email, Epstein wrote, "From helping Bill to get drugs in order to deal with the consequences of sex with Russian girls, to facilitating his illicit trysts with married women, to being asked to provide Adderall for bridge tournaments." After reading that, my heart just breaks for Melinda Gates, because she obviously had no idea that was going on, and it's so private and personal, and now it's just out there for the world.
I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever.
So that was Howard Lutnick, Trump's commerce secretary. And just today we are learning out that everything he said was a lie. So obviously Howard Lutnick, I mean, just look at him, he's a slimy fucking dude. But he recently came out in an interview and stated because he was neighbors with Epstein, he ran into Epstein frequently. And he stated in that interview, which was recorded just a few months ago, that he and his wife at one point, after all these dark things came to light in about 2005, completely cut Epstein out of their lives. And you can hear him virtue signal in that interview and talk about how, oh, they decided we're not gonna have this disgusting man around us. So here's an email that was leaked today by the DOJ from Leslie Groff, who was Jeffrey Epstein's assistant. You can see this was going to Howard Lutnick, Howard Matthew Lutnick. Friday, December 21st, 2012, which is curiously 7 years after Lutnick claimed he decided he'd never associate with Epstein again. And this is years after everything that happened with Epstein in Florida, after he was declared publicly and nationally a sex offender who molested young girls and children, essentially. So you can see in this email, Leslie writes, "Hi Matthew and Candace, might you be able to give blank a few more details regarding lunch this Sunday? Do you know if it will be just Howard and his wife? Any kids coming along? Will they arrive J.E.'s Island via their boat? And around what time is good for them? If you could pass along when you know, that would be great. Blank or CC'd here. Thanks, Leslie." And then our good buddy Howard, who, remember, claimed that he cut off contact with Epstein in 2005, writes, "Okay, lunch on Sunday, see you then," which I'm assuming meant, as Leslie wrote, lunch on Epstein Island. And then even more damningly, before those emails, Howard actually sent Epstein an email, which is linked down here. He said, "Hi Jeff, we are landing in St. Thomas early Saturday afternoon and are planning to head over to St. Bart's Anguilla on Monday at some point. Where are you located? What is the exact location for my captain? Does Sunday evening for dinner look good? I have another couple, Michael and Marcy Lerman, with me on my boat, and each of us has 4 children, 2 16s, 2 14s, a 12, an 11, and a 7-year-old. Thanks, Howard," as in Howard Lutnick.
We have a major Epstein files update right now. I've gone through thousands of documents. Here are some key documents that you need to know about, so spread the word. Quickly, the Trump Justice Department deleted a document related to Donald Trump and accusations against him. That document's now since gone back online because of the outrage that we caused, so good work. The first document, and arguably one of the most important ones that I found, this is a web. Jeffrey Epstein is in the center. You see Ghislaine Maxwell. They mapped out, the Fed successfully mapped out Jeffrey Epstein's network. But here's the problem. Look at all those redactions. But the names that aren't redacted, including Darren Indike, Leslie Groff, Jean-Luc Brunel, Richard Kahn, and Harry, I believe that says Beller. But who are these other people and why are they redacted? Shouldn't be redacted.
Breaking news, we have another insane story about President Trump coming out of the Epstein files that potentially has to do with murder. So, an FBI agent reported that he spoke to a woman codenamed Caller, and that Caller and her friend, Victim 1, went out one night and they ended up at Trump Plaza. And apparently Victim 1 really wanted to meet the infamous Donald Trump. Caller then says that an unknown man approached her friend and said, "I can introduce you to Trump," and then got her a drink. After taking the drink, Victim 1 woke up naked and sore with $300 on the bed. Victim 1 didn't remember how she got to the room. She says she remembers seeing a flash of Trump's face. Then Victim 1 called her friend the Caller and told her she thought she had been. And then this is the craziest thing, Victim 1 was never seen again. Years later, her remains were found, and this was in the agent report. Victim identified is deceased. So somehow these Epstein drops are just getting darker and darker, because that was not the only accusation of missing girls or murder. We just reported on a part of the files where a girl says she witnessed a trafficking ring at a Trump golf course in Los Angeles. She goes on to say that girls participating in orgies were rumored to have gone missing or were buried at the facility. She says she was even threatened by Trump's head of security, who said that if she ever talked about what happened or who she saw, she would end up as, quote, fertilizer for the back 9 holes like the others. Some journalists are censoring these details, but I think it's so important for you to know. Trigger warning, it's really hard to hear. Donald Trump, the president, had parties at Mar-a-Lago called calendar girls, which we know is true. Jeffrey Epstein would bring the children in and Trump would auction them off. He measured the children's vulva and vagina by entering a finger and rated the children's tightness. Like, I'm actually sick to my stomach. The guests were elder men and included Elon Musk, Don Jr., Ivanka Trump, and Eric Trump were there. We were taken in rooms, forced to give oral to Donald J. Trump, forced to allow them to us. I was 13 years old when Donald J. Trump me. Ghislaine Maxwell was also present. And here's another one. A caller reported an unidentified female friend who was forced to perform oral on President Trump approximately 35 years ago in New Jersey. The friend told Alexis, that name was supposed to be redacted, that she was approximately 13 to 14 years old when this occurred, and the friend allegedly bit President Trump while performing oral. The friend said she was allegedly hit in the face after she laughed about biting President Trump. The friend said she was also abused by Epstein. And then another complainant claims to have video of high-profile parties, dealings with cartels, and having witnessed Robin Leach strangle a young girl to death at a party. I can't even believe that we're reading this stuff. I also wonder if they will ever let that video see the light of day.
There have been some crazy things that we have found in the Epstein files, but this right here might be the darkest. This is from a limo driver who had met Trump in the 1990s, and he alleges that Donald Trump a young girl along with Jeffrey Epstein. The victim was then encouraged to go to the police, to which she replied, quote, "I can't because they will kill me." The victim did eventually report it to the police, but she was found a while later with her, quote, head blown off, and the police officers on scene stated that there was no way it was a suicide, even though the coroner ruled it as such. Like, what the actual hell is going on here, and why are we not doing anything about it? Okay, we gotta let these guys know that this does not end until people, these gross, disgusting people, all go to jail.
Remembering your oath to tell the truth, did you ever tell Donald Trump his name is in the files?
I have never spoken to President Trump about the Epstein files.
Did you ever tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
The Attorney General and I have had numerous discussions about the entirety of the Epstein files and the reviews conducted by our team.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
And we have released where President Trump's name is in the
It's a simple question.
file.
Did you tell the Attorney General that the President's name is in the Epstein files?
During many conversations that the Attorney General and I have had on the matter of Epstein, we have reviewed.
The question is simple. Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files? Yes or no?
Why don't you try spelling it out?
Yes or no, Director?
Use the alphabet.
Yes or no?
No, A, B, C,
Director,
D, E, F.
it sounds like you don't want to tell us. Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name was in the Epstein files?
Why don't you try serving your
Director,
constituency
did
by
you tell the
focusing on
Attorney
reducing
General
violent
Donald
crime in this
Trump's
country and the number of pedophiles that are
Director,
legally
reclaiming
harbored
the time,
in
Director.
sanctuary cities in
Director,
California.
reclaiming
I'll
the
work
time.
with you on that.
Regular order,
Work
Mr.
with us
Chairman.
on that.
Director, reclaiming
I belong
the
to the
time.
gentleman from California.
Did you tell the Attorney General that Donald Trump's name is in the Epstein files?
Question has been asked and answered.
You have not answered it, and we will take your evasiveness as a consciousness of guilt.
Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video. That is an email sent to somebody that has been redacted from Jeffrey Epstein in April of 2009. I give you permission to kill him. He is apparently with blank. He lied to you and he lied to me. Jeffrey Epstein gave that okay to murder someone in an email sent in 2014. But there are so many references to murders and deaths in the Epstein files it boggles the mind. See, you can see here someone named Eva Dubin says Mary Kennedy found dead in her backyard, ... And Epstein replies to that email and says, whoops, which to me definitely sounds like some sort of admission of guilt. Then you've got this email here. Then you've got this email right here, which states back in the 90s, Ghislaine Maxwell recruited a girl for a modeling career. Instead of modeling, she was sold as a slave for and torture. Prince Andrew was an accessory to her death as he tortured her and me to force her murder. Basically making the allegation that Prince Andrew is culpable in a trafficked woman's murder. There's also this email, which I'll cover more in depth soon, but basically it states this is sensitive, so it will be the first and last email depending on your discretion. You can choose to take it or trash it, but this comes from a person that has been there and seen it all as a former member at the Zorro. The material below was taken from the Jeffrey Epstein home as my insurance. Then you can see right here he lists 7 different videos, audio recordings that he claims show Epstein with others, including threesomes, having with minors. I'm assuming there would be some powerful people in those images and videos. But as you can see right here, it says, what is damning about Jeffrey Epstein is yet to be written. Did you know somewhere in the hills outside the Zorro, 2 foreign girls were buried on orders of Jeffrey and Madam G? Both died by strangulation during rough fetish. I mean, right now I could go through dozens, if not hundreds of messages and emails that allude to potential murders or victims who were silenced, victims who were killed. And honestly, people, we need to be more angry about this. You need to let them hear your voice because we're the only ones that are holding anybody at all responsible for these crimes.
The stuff about Andrew that has been released in the files proves you cannot despise the royal family enough. Have you seen what has been released? Let's start with the images. So here is the first image that got released. There is what looks like a young girl laying on the floor, sprawled, with Andrew with his hand on her, on all fours, on the ground. Here's the second image. I mean, yeah, what do you even say to that? I mean, his pupils are bigger than planets. And despite what he says, that man is clearly sweating. Not only that, we then read emails from 2010 when Andrew Mountbatten Windsor told his very good friend Geoffrey, who at this point had been legally recognised as a nonce for 2 years, that he could host him at Buckingham Palace and there was lots of privacy. Now cast your mind back to 2022 when the late Queen Elizabeth helped finance the £12 million that Andrew gave to the late Virginia Giuffre, a woman he claimed he had never met in his life, in order to avoid having to stand trial for the crimes that he had been accused of. That family of parasites used taxpayer money to bail out a nonce. Not only that, think of the millions of pounds of taxpayer money that has been spent on Andrew's security detail whilst he was up to all manner of heinous shit. This is something that we should all be up in arms about. I don't care that the guy has been stripped of his titles. He should be stripped of his ability to walk around freely. He must face justice for what he has done.
One thing with regard to the Pizzagate thing. So it looks from the files that Epstein met with the 4chan guy who started the Paul board on 4chan, which was the place where Pizzagate and QAnon, where they come from, okay? And they met on the same day that board begins. So there's a lot of theorizing about, I mean, this is a tale as old as time, that the culture war is used to distract people from the real problems in society and the globe, which is the power of these very billionaires. So, it's not crazy to imagine that they found all of these kooky conspiracy theories to be very useful that were, Pizzagate was stupid and bizarre. And so it made it very easy, and so was QAnon. And so it made it very easy for people to see all of this, the real things that were going on, as preposterous, right? And so the New York Times of the world and whatever wouldn't deign to look into it, media organizations involved directly in cover-ups, etc., because it was all painted as like just the hobby horse of these crazy fringe conspiracy theorists.
My overall takeaways, there was some sick, deep, depraved stuff that was happening there. And I mean, this is part of the difficulty. Like, everyone likes to make fun of Pizzagate and all that. And sure, it got out of control. However, the original idea of people referring to CSAM as pizza was a thing. That's kind of what the connection became. And you can look, I mean, you can't deny that a lot of these emails are very strange and do not make any sense in the context of actually talking about pizza, because it was internet slang that was previously that you were able to make the relation. I just don't see how you can't connect it, at least in some way. Go and look at photos from Tony Podesta's house if you've never seen it before. And you're not going to say at the very least some weird shit, or it looked weird as shit in terms of the art in and of itself.
Does that seem like a normal thing that
you draw
a couple of billionaires be sending to each other?
That's what I mean. You draw
about pizza and grape soda.
If you look at his Amazon receipts, which Bloomberg went through, I mean, he was ordering all this like crazy sex shit on Amazon, which is in his receipts.
Yeah.
And on top of Lolita, the revised annotated copy.
Right.
It's like it was so out in the open, not only in terms of his friend group, but from behind the scenes and all the stuff they were up to.
This is allegedly a victim's diary that was uploaded into the Epstein files. So let's go through it. As a warning, sensitive topics will be covered in this video. The diary appears to have been written in code, and while I will show both the coded and the deciphered pages, let's go through the code real quick. The code can be deciphered by going top to bottom, column to column. So CLOSE, close, YOUR, your EYES, eyes, close your eyes. First page reads, close your eyes, close your eyes, close your eyes. Don't speak, she doesn't talk. I can't stop shaking and it's been a week. A decision was made, but I can't tell Geoffrey. These things happen. Why didn't I close my eyes fast enough? The doctor was different again, I think from Israel. He has kind eyes, but he didn't speak directly to me. This was different. A shot in those rod things had a hook, and so much pain. Ghislaine said to push all the pain away. I don't understand. Blood and water all over the bed. And she was right, like a feeling when your tummy's hurting and you have to push. She said to close my eyes and put her hands over my eyes, but I didn't close them because of these tiny cries. I am so lost. I saw between her fingers this tiny head and body in the doctor's hands. It reached its tiny arm up and had a tiny foot. I closed my eyes and no more. This is the second page coded. It continues. No more cries. I don't understand. Just say these things happen, but he doesn't believe that. They yelled and screamed, and he said that it'll all be the same in a couple months, and she said that she was fed up with it all. I don't understand what's going on and no one will tell me. I can't go to school like this. I can't stop shaking. Why won't anyone make it stop? I know Ghislaine is trying, but nothing changes. Why didn't I close my eyes?
Children. Child. Also a child. That is a child's hand. You know how I know that? I have two of those. That's a kid's little hand. A child. Also a child. That's a child. You see the little block there? That's a kid. Literal children. See the hands and legs? That guy, that girl. This little girl. Children. Right there. Children. Child. Child. Children's legs. A child. This will be probably like less than 2 years old. This child. That's a child. We're not talking about teenagers. We're talking about literal children. As a mom, I'm speechless. People in power continue to protect people like these. Children. Literal fucking children.
Did Donald Trump murder children and watch as they were killed on film? Those are some of the allegations made by recent whistleblower Sasha Riley. So according to reporting, Sasha Riley is a decorated U.S. Army veteran who at a very young age was trafficked by his own family members into Epstein's ring. Now, all this information is coming from a series of interviews that have appeared on Substack, gathered and posted by the author Lisa Noel Voldang, and you have to just listen to these recordings yourself. This is firsthand testimony from an alleged victim, and I've heard testimony exactly like this before. This sounds like the same story as the Marc Dutroux ring in Belgium, as the Frank Sheldon ring in Michigan. The testimony sounds the same as those who were involved with the Franklin cover-up in Omaha. Now, Sasha makes some extremely bold and disturbing claims, saying, for example, that they are fully willing to testify against Trump, Andy Biggs, Jim Jordan, Lindsey Graham, and Clarence Thomas. Should be known that Clarence Thomas had a Bohemian Grove controversy a few years ago, if you know, you know. But as you can see here, Sasha during these interviews testified that there are children buried on farms, ranches, patches of wilderness, all across the world. Sasha also claims that some of these things were videotaped and released. Like they say here, the evidence should be in the films, CPS reports, FBI reports that were gathered that are in the Epstein files. These things, even though they are horrific and hard to understand and comprehend, they are very, very real. There have been thousands and thousands of children murdered in films.
You're not going to believe what's in this email. The subject line of this email is interview with a purported Epstein victim, a male victim, and he described what he witnessed on a yacht. Well, he witnessed, let's just say, they witnessed babies that were being unalived, and pieces of those were removed from them and consumed. Let's just say that, all right? And guys, I just want to be clear. I'm not saying this actually happened. What I'm saying is this is in the Jeffrey Epstein emails. So whether or not this happened, you be the judge. I'm just presenting to you what's in the emails. But it doesn't stop there, because this man, this victim, described it as a ritualistic sacrifice. He even said that his own feet were cut with a scimitar. This man, he named George H.W. Bush. And we know he was in Skull and Bones, and he's been accused of being let's just say, involved with some pretty shady things. But the FBI agent's written response to his colleague says something like this. He said, "I didn't realize Bush him too." And the fact that he used the word too, the FBI agent used the word too in this email, in my opinion, it indicates that there were others that were implicated in this, and the FBI knew the names of those other people. In November 2025, Australian police arrested 4 men in Sydney for what they called, and guys, I'm quoting directly here, for what they called the, quote, International Satanic Child Ring. Now, this investigation is called Strike Force Constantine. It remains active today, right now, as you watch this video. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's not a cold case. It is an active case right now. But here's the thing. The official narrative that they want us to believe anyway, is that this is just mass hysteria. It's the satanic panic. It's been exposed, debunked, and, discredited decades ago. And the only people that believe that now are conspiracy theorists. But what if the story that they say, what if that story that the whole satanic panic thing was just debunked and discredited? What if that's not the whole story? What if the whole story is far darker and far more, let's just say, evil than the mainstream media would like people to believe?
That was Gabrielle Rico Jimenez, a model who disappeared from Mexico 15 years ago. She accused the elites of engaging in cannibalism and eating human flesh. She was 21 years old at the time and was handcuffed by police after the tirade before being led away and never seen in public again.
Jeffrey Epstein's bank account was called Baal, the ancient Canaanite deity which people would sacrifice children to. A victim's diary shows that she was imprisoned multiple times and forced to give birth for Ghislaine and Epstein. Israel is mentioned twice as much as Donald Trump in the new documents. Here he is discussing with Roger Schenck, a Jewish-American academic and hedge fund worker, saying Jews create vast fortunes by manipulating markets and creating financial speculation and exploiting labor. He says, let the Goyim deal in the real world. In a discussion with the Rothschild family, Epstein says if they overthrew the Ukrainian government, there would be great opportunities. The Rothschild family paid Epstein $25 million for certain algorithms. While talking to Peggy Seigel, August 7th of 2010, she asks if an event is going to be 100% Jewish. He says no, they'll have Goyim in abundance. But don't worry, they're just brilliant wasps from JP Morgan. Joshua Finkelstein, BlackRock's Larry Finkelstein's son, is accused of not having any respect for non-Jews, seeing them as not human. This is from his ex-girlfriend, Svetlana. He pressures her to have an abortion. In 2017, Epstein has a conversation talking about if you want to hire the best people, you have to hire only Jews. Only hire those who can prove they are genetically Jewish. Maria Farmer, one of the first victims to come out and name Epstein,
I wasn't allowed to go get food. And when I called Ghislaine and asked why I couldn't eat there, she said, it's a Jewish country club. You're not Jewish. They're not going to serve you. They, honest to God, think their DNA is better than everybody else.
Said that their operation was motivated by Jewish supremacy.
Yeah, so this is by far the craziest revelation of the Epstein files. There's a source that claims that Trump has been compromised by Israel? What? Where's your evidence for that? There's no way. Now, that is just by far the craziest accusation. It's probably just written by some libtard, because there's just no way that that's true.
The greatest friend that Israel has ever had in the White House.
Stop accusing him of being compromised. He's not compromised. He's just, this is normal. This is normal. So stop suggesting that this is weird. He's America first. The TV said so and he said so.
The most disturbing thing about the new Melania movie is the director, who actually appears in the Epstein files, and here's the proof. The director of the film, who was handpicked by Melania Trump, is Brett Ratner. Now, Brett was a famous Hollywood director. He directed films like Rush Hour, but in 2017, 6 different women came forward and said that he had perpetuated violence against them. This included actress Olivia Munn, who stated that Brett Ratner masturbated in front of her and then told others that they had had sex, which they hadn't. Actress Natasha Henstridge, who has claimed in the past that Brett Ratner forced her to give him oral. And there are just so many actresses and so many allegations. So in the middle of the Me Too movement, when all these allegations came to light, Brett Ratner was kind of shuttered out of Hollywood. But according to all reporting, he is now trying to force his way back into Hollywood through this film. Yes, this is a picture of Brett Ratner, P. Diddy, and Trump and Melania. But also, Brett Ratner is a very good friend of Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. And Ratner himself even emigrated to Israel in 2023. And I will let you make of that what you will. But Ratner was also a very good friend of Jeffrey Epstein's. But Brett Ratner's recent appearance in the Epstein files is even more disturbing than it looks on the surface. So here he is in this picture. This was released by the DOJ, and this is clearly at one of Epstein's properties or on some sort of a trip. So Brett Ratner is hugging a shirtless Jean-Luc Brunel. Well, who was Jean-Luc Brunel? He was Epstein's kind of business partner in a way. He supplied young girls to Epstein. He was a notorious and offender himself who basically pimped out women and engaged in human trafficking. And curiously enough, Jean-Luc Brunel, just like his good buddy Epstein, hanged himself in prison, allegedly, before he could ever see his day in court. A lot of people think that Jean-Luc Brunel was obviously taken out in the same fashion that Epstein was, because both of them were silenced before they could really share any information about what they knew. But that's what makes this photograph even darker. Brett Ratner was not just in a photo with Epstein. He seems to be on some sort of a trip or at one of Epstein's properties, and he's with Jean-Luc Brunel. So now you've got all 3, I'm assuming Ghislaine was there too, of the pimps, the main pimps that we know in this operation, and Brett Ratner is friendly with all of them. He's so friendly with them, in fact, that he's hugging a shirtless Jean-Luc Brunel, notorious offender and pedophile's waist. And I do find this incredibly disturbing that Melania and Trump insisted on having Ratner direct this film when they knew what the 6 women had alleged he had done to them, which is incredibly disturbing.
Okay, so hold on a second. You know how all those files just dropped? And in one of them, we found out basically that 75% of Bitcoin's code comes directly from J.E.'s investments. And this is a bit over my understanding, but there's some type of code. And in the emails that came out, his company is involved with them. Such that many people think that there's a backdoor built into Bitcoin's code And this guy says, P.S. Ever wonder how the Bitcoin ransom for the 2021 Continental Pipeline hack was recovered by the FBI? Okay, now, Bitcoin. Is this why Dan Pena said this?
If you knew who was really behind Bitcoin, you would run as fast as you fucking could to Stellus. I know. 100%. If you knew who owned Bitcoin or who started Bitcoin, you had Bitcoin, you couldn't sleep at night.
Now, a manipulation on this scale is nearly unfathomable, especially because many people are stoked about Bitcoin, thinking it's this like alternative thing that's going to free us from the fiat currency system, right? The manipulation and deception in our world today is honestly insane. And I can only imagine if this is what we're finding out little breadcrumbs of stuff, what else are they hiding?